Hello and happy first week of January. How's everybody doing? Did you have a good Christmas and New Year? Ours was pretty good. It was busy. We had a lot of company, a lot of visitors, only one family gathering that we did, and we got that done last Sunday. And so now it's time to settle back down into routines. I know from reading and watching a lot of you that everyone is so excited when solstice comes, and that means that we're moving now towards more and more daylight. That actually makes me sad. It comes and goes so fast. Winter, late fall and winter is my time to retreat and relax. I like the darkness. I like the hours of darkness. I like to be able to settle in for the night and not feel like I need to be back outside doing more work. I think I talked about that on the last podcast. And now here we are racing back towards more daylight, and all I can see is more work. More daylight means more work. And like I said before too, I think that's kind of a farming thing. This is our time to rest up. And it just doesn't feel like we've had that. We also haven't had winter weather. In fact, it's raining here again today. And over the weekend we had 50-degree temperatures. So, I don't know. The world is changing, isn't it? But, so I'm sitting down here today, just got back from town. I had to run an errand in town. And I came down to check on water, and I wanted to shut the door up. Not because the sheep can't go out in the rain. And here's the star of our show, Susie, who always likes to be here. Don't you? But just because I wanted to sit here and record a little bit, and it was noisy and very bright. So here I am, wearing a different hat, hand knit hat, and so hope I don't look too funny. Anyway, I just wanted to talk for a minute. I've been recording some bits about yarn and about Corriedale sheep, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that and just say, let's say that you've decided, whether as a hobby, as a business, or if you've already got a few sheep and you've got more wool than what you can use, and you're thinking of maybe selling some. Well, that was what we did when I started with sheep. And I think I will have talked about that a little bit more when I talked about having Corriedale and having the opportunity to sell Corriedale wool and get good Corriedale wool in the hands of hand spinners and people who are interested in working with fleece and fiber. And what I'm also talking about is, if you decide, now that there are mills available to do spinning for smaller flocks, for smaller numbers, if you decide to have some of your fiber spun into yarn, or maybe you purchased a few fleeces at a fiber festival and you're going to take them to a mill to be spun into yarn. Well, there are a few things that you might not think about, and I've shown in the past some of the beautiful yarns that we've had spun at local mills, or local as far as within our state, some of the beautiful yarns that we've had spun. In the beginning, I sent some out of state to other mills because they were mills that I knew did a really nice job, and I would still be using those, except for we have some mills here in Michigan, and in an effort to produce more local and to support the people within our state, then we switched to using the mills here in Michigan. There have been some smaller mills that have come and gone. There's a new one opening up now that's not too far from me, and then there's our bigger mills that most of you will have heard of, and that's Zeilinger's in Frankenmuth and Stonehenge up in East Jordan, that we are very, very fortunate to have, that support shepherds and fiber people and spin beautiful yarns. But so I'm going to talk in this episode a little bit about that. Talk to you about some things that you may not have thought about if you're going to do that. We had as I said, it was a nice weekend, and my daughter came over and we were able to check coats to see who needed to be changed. All the sheep now have covers on, and by coats we mean a covering that the sheep wears, kind of like if you've got a horse that wears a blanket, goes around their neck and then around the hind legs to stay in place. And we do that not because the sheep are cold, obviously. They have wool to keep them warm and not to keep them dry, but to keep the chaff and the vegetable matter and the mud out of the fleeces. And we do that because we are raising wool with the idea of selling it to hand spinners, or if it doesn't sell, if I'm going to do anything with it myself, that it's already fairly clean. Now, this can be somewhat controversial. Some people that are purists say, well, then you're not getting all the full qualities of the wool, that of what it was meant to be. But if you've ever gotten a fleece, and we raise Corriedale. I mean, we have the few fin sheep, but we raise Corriedale, and we raise on the finer side of the fleeces of Corriedale. There's a lot of lanolin, and even though they're tight fleeces, those ends get greasy and full of hay and chaff, no matter how well we try to feed. And it just is really a mess. We fight burrs. We try to always keep burrs and thistle out of the pasture. If we could raise the sheep out on pasture 100% of the time, on grass, that might be better. Maybe we could go without coats. One thing we have done is we've switched to only having coats on the sheep during the months that we're feeding hay. In the summer months, we usually leave the coats off when they are out on pasture. But when we're feeding hay and when they're in the barn more, then we keep the coats on. Now, even when they're out in pasture, one of the things that happens for us is the soil we have here is very, very sandy. And I don't mean like white beach sand. I mean like black blow sand. And it's just mucky and a mess. The trees that we have here around the house and the pasture are pine trees. So if the sheep are laying out there, they're laying in sand or they're laying near pine needles. And so you get that in the fleece. So the coats just make life easier. But it is a commitment. It's a financial commitment, and it's a commitment of time. You have to check to be sure a coat's not getting tight. You have to check to be sure that actually a looser coat will cause this to happen more than a tight coat, but that there's not felting going on underneath, that the fleece isn't getting felted. Sometimes the tips will get a little bit rubbed down, but to just make sure that the whole fleece isn't felted. And that the fin sheep I'm really having to watch that. But anyway, this weekend, let me backtrack. I say a commitment. Most of the sheep, especially if you're raising them from lambs, are going to need at least three coat sizes in their lifetime, from small to medium to large, depending on the breeds you have. And even if you buy a sheep as an adult, if it's a sheep that grows a lot of wool, like our Corriedales do, then they're going to need at least two, because if you put it on after they're shorn, and then the fleece starts to grow, of course, they're going to expand. So luckily we had made that investment quite a while ago, and so we've got enough coats. And in fact, I've got more than enough, but I can switch them out. So my daughter came and helped me. We checked coats to make sure everybody's were fitting okay. I'm watching two sheep over here actually fighting. They're not playing, they're fighting with each other. Sometimes, because we think the ewes are all bred now, you'll find that happens. The ewes will tussle. I'm going to pause just for a minute, guys. There, I'm back. It's one of the young ones. One of the older ewes was really getting after, so I intervened. Now we'll see how it goes. Anyway, what was I saying? Changing sheep coats. We got that done. My daughter helped me. Because even if I pen the sheep up close, it is a two-person job usually. And pretty much everyone was okay. We had to let two coats out. Sometimes you'll see in the videos, we'll have a coat, and you'll see like a little golf ball size in the middle of their back. That's when a coat is long enough for them, but it may hang down a little too far. So we just get a zip tie and a piece of scrap wool from shearing and bundle it up to keep it up where it should be. So that's what we did this weekend. Checked hooves. Checked to see that everybody was in good enough flesh when they're wearing all this wool. Sometimes it's hard to see. Hi, sweetheart. What do you think? What's all the fussing about? Here's Hannah. One of our favorites. Kind of a matriarch now, too. Hilda got moved over with Francie and the yearling ewe, I think I spoke to you before that Hilda really didn't care for the fin sheep. She didn't fight with them, but she just was really bothered by them. And even though she and Hannah are the same age, Hilda doesn't keep weight on as well as Hannah does. So once I was pretty sure she's bred, I put her over with them so she can be a little less bothered and get a little extra feed. Hannah and Kelly have just the most beautiful, traditional, old-style Corriedale heads. Broad muzzle and broad between the eyes. The set of their ears is just right. The black points, a black muzzle, black around the eyes, black feet, hooves. Pretty good fleece. Kelly's is exceptional. Hannah's is pretty good. She has some spots that are a little less crimpy. And her fleece is just real lofty and nice. And she always has beautiful babies. Maybe I'll insert a picture here of some of her babies. The yearling, or the ewe lamb, she'll be a yearling coming up, is a daughter of hers. So anyway, I just thought I would take a few minutes to stop and mention a little bit what I'm going to be talking about this time. Talk about some sheep maintenance, the things that we're doing. The hay is still not the best quality, and the wet weather is harder on the animals than cold weather. So I've been keeping the mineral tubs out for them. Doing a little extra that way. So I hope you all are having a good day. Hope I can get this podcast up and ready in pretty good time. Hope the sheep settle down and there's no more fighting. And we'll talk to you real soon.